I told him he wasn't my type. Those exact words. You're not my type. I said it to his face at a party in front of mutual friends with enough conviction that he actually flinched. I felt bad for maybe half a second, but I was annoyed. He had been pursuing me for weeks, showing up at places I frequented, asking friends about me, making it clear he was interested. And I wasn't interested back. So I shut it down, definitively. The next morning, I woke up with a pounding headache and a vague sense of having done something embarrassing the night before. I got out of bed, stumbled to the bathroom, and looked in the mirror. That's when I saw it. Around my neck was a delicate gold necklace I had never seen before. It was beautiful, clearly expensive, with a small pendant that had 2 initials engraved on it. E.M. His initials. Ethan Miller. The guy I had told wasn't my type. The guy I had publicly rejected. His initials were literally hanging around my neck. I had no memory of putting it on, no memory of how it got there, and no explanation for why I was wearing a necklace that belonged to, or was from, a man I had made it very clear I wanted nothing to do with. My name is Claire Reynolds. I'm 29 years old, and this is the story of how I woke up wearing a necklace with my rejected suitor's initials on it, and how that one impossible morning led me to discover that my entire life was not what I thought it was. Let me start from the beginning, because none of this makes sense without context. I live in Seattle, working as a marketing manager for a tech startup. My life is pretty standard. Apartment in Capitol Hill, friends who like to go out on weekends, a job that's demanding but pays well. Nothing extraordinary. I had met Ethan Miller about 2 months before that party. We were both at a mutual friend's birthday dinner, seated across from each other at a long table. He was attractive in an understated way. Dark hair, green eyes, good conversational skills. We talked throughout dinner about normal things. Work, travel, our favorite restaurants in Seattle. It was pleasant. At the end of the night, he asked for my number. I gave it to him, thinking, why not? But then he started texting me constantly. Good morning messages, asking how my day was, sending me articles he thought I'd find interesting. It was too much too fast. I barely knew him, and he was acting like we were already in a relationship. When he asked me out, I said I was busy. He suggested different days. I made excuses. He kept trying. After a few weeks of this, I started getting annoyed. He would show up at the coffee shop I went to every morning. He would be at the gym at the same time as me. He would appear at happy hours my friends organized. It felt like he was everywhere. My best friend Maya thought it was romantic. He's really into you, she would say. Give him a chance. But I didn't want to. There was something about him that felt off. Not dangerous, just wrong. Like when you try on clothes that don't fit quite right, everything looks fine from the outside, but you know something isn't working. The party where I told him he wasn't my type was at another friend's apartment. It was crowded, loud, typical Friday night gathering. I was talking to a group of people when Ethan appeared at my elbow. "Can we talk?" he asked. "Not really," I said. "I'm in the middle of a conversation." "Please," he said, "just for a minute." I excused myself and followed him to a quieter corner of the apartment. "Claire," he started, "I know I've been coming on strong, but I really like you. I think we could have something special if you just give me a chance." I looked at him, this man who seemed nice enough, but who I felt absolutely nothing for, and decided to be honest. "Ethan," I said, "you seem like a great guy, but you're not my type. I'm not interested. I'm sorry." He stared at me. "Not your type?" "Yeah," I said. "We're just not compatible. I don't feel a connection." "You don't even know me," he said. "How can you say we're not compatible?" "I just know," I said. "I'm sorry." That's when he said something strange. "You're wrong," he said. "We're more connected than you realize." "What does that mean?" I asked. "You'll see," Ethan said. And then he walked away. I went back to my friends, told Maya what happened, and tried to enjoy the rest of the party. I drank too much wine, I danced, I laughed, and then I went home around 1 a.m., took off my dress, put on pajamas, and collapsed into bed. I didn't remember putting on any jewelry. I always took off my earrings and watch before bed. I definitely didn't remember putting on a necklace. But there it was the next morning. EM, an elegant script on a gold pendant hanging from a delicate chain around my neck. I tried to take it off. The clasp was one of those tiny lobster claw ones, and my fingers fumbled with it for several minutes before I finally got it undone. I held the necklace in my hand, staring at it. It was real gold, I could tell. High quality. And the engraving was professional, not some cheap custom job. This was expensive jewelry. Where did it come from? Who put it on me? I called Maya immediately. Did you see me put on a necklace last night? I asked as soon as she answered. What? She sounded groggy. What time is it? It's 9 a.m., I said. Maya, this is important. Did you see me wearing a necklace at the party? I don't know, she said. Maybe? You were wearing that black dress with the gold earrings. I don't remember a necklace. Check your photos, I said. You took like 100 pictures last night. Hold on, Maya said. I heard her moving around, presumably looking at her phone. Okay, I'm looking. Yeah, in the early photos, you're not wearing a necklace. But in the later ones, after like midnight, there's definitely something around your neck. Can you see what it looks like? I asked. She was quiet for a moment. It looks like a gold chain with a small pendant, she said. I can't see details in the photos, but it's definitely there. So I put it on sometime after midnight. But where did it come from? Do you remember where I got it? I asked. No, Maya said. Claire, what's going on? Why are you freaking out about a necklace? Because it has Ethan Miller's initials on it, I said. What? Maya practically shouted. Let me send you a picture. I took a photo of the necklace and texted it to her. I heard her phone buzz. There was silence. Then Maya said, Oh my God, why do you have a necklace with his initials? I don't know, I said. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Did he give it to you? Maya asked. I don't think so, I said. I would remember that, wouldn't I? Were you that drunk? Maya asked. I was drunk, I admitted, but not blackout drunk. I remember most of the night. I remember coming home, getting into bed. I just don't remember anything about this necklace. You need to call him, Maya said. Ask him if he gave it to you. I really don't want to do that, I said. I just told him last night that he's not my type. Calling him now is going to send mixed signals. Claire, you're wearing a necklace with his initials that you have no memory of acquiring, Maya said. Mixed signals are the least of your problems. You need to find out what happened. She was right. I found Ethan's number in my phone and called him. He answered on the second ring. Claire, he said. He sounded surprised. Hi, I said. I need to ask you something. Okay, he said. Did you give me a necklace last night? I asked. There was a pause. What? A necklace, I repeated. Gold chain, small pendant with the initials EM. Did you give that to me at the party? No, Ethan said. I left the party right after we talked. I didn't see you again. So you didn't give me any jewelry? I pressed. Claire, I don't know what you're talking about, he said. Why would I have given you a necklace? You made it very clear you're not interested in me. I don't know, I said. That's what I'm trying to figure out. There was another pause. Then Ethan said something that made my skin crawl. But if you're wearing something with my initials on it, maybe that means something. Maybe it's a sign. It's not a sign, I said. It's a mystery, and not a romantic one. Ethan, if you know anything about this necklace, please tell me. I swear I don't know anything, he said. But Claire, can I ask you something? What? Why did you call me? You could have just taken off the necklace and thrown it away. Why does it matter where it came from? Because I don't remember putting it on, I said. And that scares me. You think someone put it on you while you were asleep? Ethan asked.
I think something weird happened last night, I said, and I'm trying to figure out what. After I hung up with Ethan, I sat on my couch staring at the necklace. This didn't make sense. People don't just wake up wearing jewelry they don't remember acquiring. There were only a few explanations. One, I put it on myself while drunk and forgot. But where would I have gotten it? Two, someone at the party gave it to me and I don't remember. But who? And why wouldn't they have mentioned it? Three, someone put it on me while I was sleeping. That thought made me feel sick. I lived alone in a secured apartment building. You needed a key fob to get in. My door had 2 locks. How would anyone have gotten into my apartment? Unless I brought someone home with me. I pulled up my phone and checked my texts, my call log, my Uber history. The last Uber was at 1:07 a.m., from the party to my apartment. Just me, according to the ride details. I texted Maya again. Did I leave the party with anyone? No, she replied. You left alone, said you were tired and going home. Did I talk to anyone unusual last night? Anyone I don't normally hang out with? You talked to lots of people, Maya wrote back. It was a party. Anyone who seemed particularly interested in me? I pressed. I don't know, Claire, Maya wrote back. What is this about? Just trying to piece together my night, I said. Okay, Maya wrote, but honestly, you seemed normal all night. Just regular drunk you. Not falling down drunk or anything. You left on your own, you were walking fine. I don't think anything weird happened. But something weird did happen, because I was now holding evidence of it in my hand. I decided to look at the necklace more carefully.
I took it to my desk where I had a magnifying glass and examined every detail. The gold was definitely real. The chain was delicate but well made. The pendant was about the size of a dime, oval-shaped, with the initials EM engraved in a flowing script. On the back of the pendant, there was something else, a hallmark indicating the jewelry was made by a specific company. And below that, tiny numbers, 1.1223. A date, January 12, 2023. That was 8 months ago. This necklace had been made 8 months ago, which meant it wasn't something Ethan could have rushed out to buy in the last few weeks while pursuing me. This was made long before he and I ever met. I did some Googling. The hallmark belonged to a high-end jewelry company in New York, the kind of place that does custom work for clients with money. I called them. I reached a saleswoman and explained I had found a necklace with their hallmark and was trying to identify the owner. She asked me to describe it. When I mentioned the date engraved on the back, she asked me to hold. After a few minutes, she came back on the line. Ma'am, she said, I can't give you specific information about our clients, but I can tell you that particular piece was part of a custom order placed in late 2022. It was one of 4 identical necklaces made for a client. 4 identical necklaces? I repeated. Yes, ma'am, she said. Is there anything else I can help you with? Who was the client? I asked. I can't share that information, she said. I understand, I said, but this is important. I'm wearing one of these necklaces, and I don't know how I got it. I'm concerned for my safety. There was a pause. Then the saleswoman said quietly, I really can't share client information, but if you're concerned for your safety, you should contact the police. After I hung up, I sat there trying to process this new information. 4 identical necklaces with EM engraved on them, all made 8 months ago. That couldn't be a coincidence. But what did it mean? I decided to do something I probably should have done immediately. I Googled Ethan Miller. I had never actually looked him up online before. When we met at that dinner party, I had been making conversation, not evaluating him as a potential partner. And when he started pursuing me,
I was too annoyed to investigate further. But now I needed to know who this man was. The search results were strange. There were plenty of Ethan Millers online, but none of them seemed to be the Ethan Miller I knew. I tried adding Seattle to the search. I tried adding his approximate age. I tried searching for his phone number. Nothing. It was like he didn't exist online. No social media profiles, no LinkedIn, no news articles, nothing. That was weird. Everyone has some kind of digital footprint these days. Even people who try to stay private usually show up somewhere. But Ethan Miller was a ghost. I called Maya again. I know you're getting sick of me, I said, but I need you to do something. What? She asked. You were at that birthday dinner where I met Ethan, right? Yeah, Maya said. Whose birthday was it? I asked. Stephanie's, Maya said. Your coworker, Stephanie? Right, I said. Can you ask her how she knows Ethan? She invited him. I'm sure she's still sleeping, Maya said. It's barely 10 a.m. on a Saturday. Please, I said. This is important. Fine, Maya said. I'll text her. About 20 minutes later, Maya called me back. Stephanie says she doesn't know anyone named Ethan Miller, Maya said. What? That's impossible. He was at her birthday dinner. I know, Maya said. I told her that. She says she didn't invite him and doesn't remember him being there. Ask her to check her photos from that night, I said. Okay, Maya said. Hold on. A few minutes passed. Then Maya came back on the line. Claire, she said. Her voice was strange. What? I asked. Stephanie sent me photos from that dinner, Maya said. We're all in them. You, me, Stephanie, a bunch of other people. But there's no one at the table who could be Ethan. Are you sure? I asked. She sent me like 20 photos, Maya said. I'm looking at them right now. There are 2 empty seats at the table, but no one sitting in them. That doesn't make sense, I said. I talked to him all through dinner. We sat across from each other. I know that too, Maya said. I remember that too, but he's not in any of the photos. That's when I started to feel really scared because either everyone else was lying or something very strange was happening. I spent the rest of the day trying to find evidence that Ethan Miller existed. I went back through all my text messages with him. They were all there. Dozens of conversations, his number saved in my phone. I looked at my call history. Multiple calls and from his number over the past 2 months. I even checked my security camera footage. I had a Ring doorbell camera that recorded everyone who came to my door. I scrolled back through 2 months of footage. There were several times when someone should have been visiting me based on my text conversations with Ethan. Times when he said he was stopping by to drop something off, or times when I invited him to meet me at my apartment. But in the footage from those times, no one appeared at my door. I saw myself leaving and coming home. I saw delivery people. I saw my neighbors. But I never saw Ethan Miller. It was like he didn't exist. But he had to exist. I had talked to him. I had seen him. I had rejected him at a party just last night. Unless I hadn't. Unless something else was going on. I spent Saturday night going through every detail I could remember about Ethan. I wrote everything down in a notebook, trying to create a timeline of our interactions. The birthday dinner where we met, the texts he sent me, the times he showed up at my coffee shop, the gym encounters, the party on Friday night. I wrote down dates, times, what we talked about, what he was wearing, every detail I could recall. Then I started cross-referencing with other evidence. I looked at my calendar. On days when I had noted meeting Ethan or seeing him somewhere, I checked my location history, my credit card statements.
anything that could verify I had been where I said I was. The locations matched. I had been at the coffee shop those mornings. I had been at the gym. I had been at the party. But there was no evidence anyone else had been there with me. It was like I had been having conversations with empty air. On Sunday morning, I did something that felt crazy but necessary. I went to the coffee shop and asked if they had security camera footage from the past few months. The manager, a woman named Lisa who knew me as a regular, looked concerned. "Is something wrong?" she asked. "I'm trying to verify something," I said. "It's a long story, but I need to see if someone was meeting me here on specific dates." Lisa hesitated. "We keep footage for 90 days, she said, "but I can't just show it to anyone. It's a privacy thing." "I understand," I said. "But Lisa, this is important. I think something strange is happening and I need to figure out what." The look on my face must have convinced her because she sighed and said, "Come to the back office." We sat in the tiny office behind the counter and Lisa pulled up the security footage on her computer. I gave her 3 dates when I specifically remembered having coffee with Ethan. We watched the footage from the first date. There I was, sitting at my usual table by the window. I was talking, gesturing, clearly having a conversation with someone, but the seat across from me was empty. Lisa and I watched in silence as past me laughed at something, took a sip of coffee, leaned forward as if listening intently, but there was no one there. We checked the other 2 dates. Same thing. Me, alone, acting like I was with someone. "Claire," Lisa said gently, "have you been to see a doctor?" "I'm not crazy," I said. But even as I said it, I wasn't sure I believed it anymore. "Maybe you should talk to someone," Lisa suggested. "A therapist or something. This isn't normal." I left the coffee shop feeling shaken. The evidence was overwhelming. Ethan Miller didn't exist. Or he existed in some way that cameras and other people couldn't perceive, which meant either I was experiencing a psychotic break or something impossible was happening. I decided to approach this scientifically. I made a list of everyone who should have some memory of Ethan. Stephanie, whose birthday dinner we attended, the various friends who I had mentioned Ethan to over the past 2 months, my coworkers who I had talked to him with, my doorman at my apartment building who should have seen Ethan coming and going. I spent all of Sunday and Monday reaching out to these people. I showed them photos I had taken that should have included Ethan. I described him in detail. I asked if they remembered me talking about a guy I was trying to avoid. The results were consistent and disturbing. Stephanie had no memory of anyone matching Ethan's description at her party. My friends remembered me mentioning I was being pursued by someone, but they couldn't remember any details about who. My coworkers had vague recollections of me being annoyed by a persistent admirer, but no specific information. My doorman, Paul, who had worked the front desk for 3 years and knew all the regular visitors, had no memory of anyone matching Ethan's description. I even showed him the security footage from my Ring camera, pointing out the times when Ethan should have been there. "That's strange," Paul said. "I would remember if someone was visiting you regularly, especially someone you were trying to avoid. You would have mentioned it to me." "I did mention it to you," I said, "multiple times. I told you about a guy who was showing up unannounced and you said you'd watch for him." Paul looked uncomfortable. "Claire, I don't remember those conversations. I'm sorry." That evening, I sat in my apartment staring at the necklace, the physical evidence that something happened. The initials EM gleamed in the light from my lamp. I took photos of it from every angle. I weighed it on my kitchen scale. I measured the chain length.
I wanted to document everything about this necklace because it was the only tangible proof I had that Ethan Miller might be real.
Then I remembered something. The jewelry company had said the necklace was made in late 2022. That was over a year ago. And Ethan claimed to have met me for the first time 2 months ago at Stephanie's birthday dinner. So how did a necklace with his initials on it exist before we met? Unless he had been planning this for longer than I knew, unless there was more to the story. I called the jewelry company again. This time I spoke to a different representative, a man who sounded young and more willing to bend the roles. I explained that I was trying to track down information about a necklace I had inherited. I gave him the date engraved on the back and described the piece. "Oh, yes," he said. "I actually remember that order. It was unusual." "Why unusual?" I asked. "Because the client was very specific," he said. "He wanted 4 identical necklaces, all with the same initials, all to be finished by a specific date. He paid a rush fee to get them done quickly." "Can you tell me anything about the client?" I asked. "I really shouldn't," the man said. "But since you say this is about an inheritance," he paused. "The client's name was Ethan Morrison, not Miller. Morrison." "That's interesting," I said, my heart pounding. "Can you tell me anything else?" "He paid in cash," the man said, "which is unusual for an order that expensive. And he specifically requested that the date of commission be engraved on each piece. He said it was important for reasons he couldn't explain." "Did he say why he wanted 4 identical necklaces?" I asked. "He said they were for 4 different versions of the same person," the man said. "That's all he told me. It didn't make sense at the time, but the commission was legitimate, and he paid up front, so we didn't ask questions." 4 versions of the same person. What did that mean? I thanked the man and hung up, my mind racing. Ethan Morrison, not Ethan Miller. A different last name. Maybe that was his real name. Maybe Miller was an alias. But why would he need an alias? And what did 4 versions of the same person mean? I tried calling Ethan's number again. It went to voicemail. I left another message. "Ethan, I know your real name might be Morrison, not Miller. I know you commissioned 4 necklaces with your initials. I know something strange is happening. Please call me back. I need answers." He didn't call that night, or the next morning. By Tuesday afternoon, I was considering going to the police. But what would I tell them? That I was being stalked by someone no one else could remember? That I had woken up wearing a necklace I didn't remember acquiring? They would think I was having a mental health crisis. Maybe I was. But then, Tuesday evening, I got a text from Ethan's number. "I know you're confused. I can explain everything. Meet me tomorrow at Pike Place Market, the coffee shop on Post Alley at noon. Come alone." I stared at the text. Every instinct told me this was a bad idea. Meeting alone with someone who might not even exist, who had put a necklace on me somehow, who had commissioned 4 identical pieces of jewelry for mysterious reasons. But I had to know the truth. So I texted back. "I'll be there, but I'm bringing pepper spray." "Fair enough," came the reply. That night, I barely slept. I kept thinking about all the evidence I had gathered. The text messages that existed only in my phone, the conversations people sort of remembered but couldn't recall details of, the security footage showing me talking to empty air, the necklace with initials that matched a man who might be using a fake name. None of it made sense individually, but together, it formed a picture of something impossible. Either I was experiencing a very specific type of delusion, or reality was not what I thought it was. The next day, I arrived at Pike Place Market at 11:30 a.m. I wanted time to scope out the location, to make sure I felt safe. I told Maya where I was going and asked her to call me in exactly 1 hour.
If I didn't answer, she was to call the police. Clear, this is crazy, Maya said. You're meeting up with someone who might not even exist. If he doesn't exist, then I'll be having coffee by myself and you can laugh at me later, I said. But if he does exist, I need answers. Just promise me you'll be safe, Maya said. I promise, I said, though I wasn't sure it was a promise I could keep. At noon, I was sitting at a table by the window in the coffee shop on Post Alley. The place was moderately busy, which made me feel safer. If something went wrong, there would be witnesses. At 12:03 p.m., the door opened and Ethan Miller, or Morrison, or whoever he was, walked in. He looked exactly as I remembered. Dark hair, slightly messy, green eyes, wearing jeans and a button-down shirt. He saw me and his face showed relief. He walked over to my table. "Thank you for coming," he said. His voice was the same voice I remembered from all our conversations. "Who are you?" I asked. "I need the truth. All of it." "Can I sit?" he asked. I nodded. He sat down across from me. "I'm Ethan Morrison," he said. "I used Miller as a last name when I met you because I thought it would be easier." "Easier for what?" I asked. "To explain what I am," he said.
To help you understand without overwhelming you. But clearly, that didn't work. "What are you?" I asked. "That's the question, isn't it?" Ethan said. He took a deep breath. 5 years ago, I died in a car accident. Clinically dead for 3 minutes and 42 seconds. When they brought me back, something was different. I was different. My memories were intact. I could think and feel and function normally. But other people couldn't remember me. At first, I thought it was trauma or medication side effects, but it persisted. My family would visit me in the hospital, and the next day, they wouldn't remember having seen me. Friends would call to check on me, and hours later, they'd call again, as if the first call never happened. When I was discharged, I went back to my apartment, and my roommates didn't recognize me. My job had no record of me working there, even though I had been there for 3 years. "You're saying you became invisible to memory," I said. "To long-term memory, yes," Ethan corrected. "People interact with me normally in the moment. They see me, talk to me, respond to me, but their brains can't file away the memory of me. Within hours, sometimes minutes, I'm forgotten." "That's impossible," I said. "I know," Ethan said, "but you've seen the evidence. You've checked with people. You've looked at footage. You know that I exist to you, but not to anyone else." "Why me?" I asked. "Why can I remember you?" "I don't know," Ethan said. "You're the first person in 5 years who has retained clear, consistent memories of me. That's why I've been trying so hard to stay in your life. You're the only person who makes me real." "The necklace," I said. "Tell me about the necklaces." "After my accident, after I realized what had happened to me, I tried to find a solution," Ethan said. "I researched memory, consciousness, quantum physics, anything that might explain my condition. I found references to people throughout history who seemed to exist in a similar way. People who were recorded in written accounts, but never in visual records. People who multiple witnesses described meeting, but no one could quite remember clearly. It's rare, but it happens. And in some of these historical accounts, there were mentions of tokens, objects that seemed to anchor these people to reality." "So you had the necklaces made," I said. "I commissioned 4 of them," Ethan confirmed. "I thought if I could give them to people who I hoped might remember me, maybe the token would help. The first one I gave to a woman I met about 6 months after my accident. She seemed to retain memories of me for longer than most people. But after a few days, even with the necklace, she forgot. The second one I kept for myself.
I wore it for months, hoping it would somehow fix whatever was wrong with me. It didn't. The third one was stolen from my apartment. I don't know who took it or why. And the fourth one, I said, the one I woke up wearing? I didn't give that to you, Ethan said. I swear, I would tell you if I had. Then how did I get it? I asked. That's what I've been trying to figure out, Ethan said. The fact that you're wearing one of the necklaces, the fact that you can remember me, these things are connected, but I don't know how. We sat there in silence for a moment. Around us, the coffee shop buzzed with normal people having normal conversations about normal things. And here I was, talking to a man who claimed to be invisible to human memory, wearing a necklace that shouldn't exist, trying to understand something that defied all logic. I need proof, I said finally. I need something that proves you're real and I'm not just having a breakdown. What kind of proof? Ethan asked. I don't know, I said, but there has to be something, some way to verify your existence beyond my own memories. Ethan thought for a moment, then he said, I can write something down, something specific that only I would know, and you can verify it later. That's not proof of your condition, I said. That's just proof you exist as a person. Okay, Ethan said. What if I told you something that's going to happen in the future? Something I have knowledge of that you don't. That's not proof either, I said. You could just be guessing. He was right. There was no way to prove something this impossible. Either I believed him or I didn't. And the evidence I had gathered suggested that as insane as his story sounded, it was true. Over the next hour, Ethan told me more about his life. He told me about his family, who he still visited occasionally, even though they never remembered him. He told me about his mother, who he would sit with and talk to, and who would introduce herself to him every single time like they were strangers. He told me about going to his father's funeral and watching as none of the mourners acknowledged his presence, even though he stood right next to the casket crying. He told me about the loneliness of existing in a world where you have no lasting impact on anyone, where every relationship resets daily, where you can't work, can't maintain friendships, can't build a life because no one remembers you long enough. It was heartbreaking.
And despite everything, despite my confusion and fear, I felt for him. Before we left the coffee shop, I asked him one more question. What do you want from me? I just want you to keep remembering me, Ethan said. I don't need anything else. Just don't forget me. How do I know I won't forget you eventually? I asked. I don't know, Ethan admitted, but so far you haven't, and that's enough. We exchanged phone numbers again, even though we already had each other's numbers. It felt important to do it officially, now that I knew the truth. As I walked away from the coffee shop, I took out my phone and called Maya. I'm fine, I said when she answered. I met with him. He's real. Did he explain what's going on? Maya asked. He did, I said. And Maya, you're not going to remember this conversation tomorrow. What? Maya asked. Just trust me, I said. Tomorrow, when I talk to you about Ethan, you won't remember him. You'll think I'm crazy. But I need you to know that right now, in this moment, I'm telling you the truth. He exists. And I'm not having a breakdown. Claire, you're scaring me, Maya said. I know, I said, but please just trust me. Write this down if you have to. I'm okay. I'm safe, and I know what I'm doing. Over the next few weeks, I tested Ethan's claims. I introduced him to different people and tracked how long they remembered him. My coworker Jenny forgot him within hours. My neighbor Tom forgot him by the next day. Even Maya, who I told repeatedly about Ethan, could never retain a clear memory of him. To everyone else, he was like a dream that faded upon waking. But not to me. I remembered everything. Every conversation, every meeting, every detail about him. And wearing the necklace seemed to strengthen my memories, make them more vivid and permanent. Ethan and I spent a lot of time together. At first, it was just trying to understand his condition.
We researched together, read about similar cases throughout history, consulted with doctors who would forget him the moment he left their office. But gradually, it became more than that. We became friends, real friends, because I was the only person he could be real with. I learned that he was funny, with a dry sense of humor that caught me off guard. He was well-read and loved discussing books. He was kind, always holding doors and remembering small details about my preferences. He was lonely, desperately so, but he tried not to burden me with it. And I found myself caring about him more than I expected. This man who existed in the margins of reality, who had suffered an impossible fate, who kept trying despite knowing he would be forgotten. 3 months after our meeting at Pike Place Market, something changed between us. We were having dinner at my apartment, something we did weekly now. I had cooked pasta and we were drinking wine, talking about a documentary we had both watched. At some point, our conversation drifted to relationships. "Have you dated anyone since your accident?" I asked. "How could I?" Ethan said. "No one remembers me long enough to date me. You can't build a relationship when the other person forgets you existed." "That must be so lonely," I said. "It is," Ethan admitted. "I've gotten used to a lot of things about this condition, but the loneliness is the hardest part." He looked at me then, really looked at me, and said, "You're the only person I've been able to talk to in 5 years, really talk to, about anything. You have no idea how much that means to me." I felt something shift in that moment, a recognition that what we had wasn't just a friendship based on my unusual ability. It was real. It mattered. And I was starting to develop feelings for him. But I was scared. What if my ability to remember him faded? What if I woke up one day and he was gone from my memory, like he was from everyone else's? What if I fell for him and lost him? As if reading my thoughts, Ethan said, "I know this is complicated. I know I'm asking you to care about someone who exists in a way that defies explanation. I don't expect anything from you, Claire. I'm just grateful you're in my life at all." "But what if I want to expect something?" I found myself saying.
What if I want this to be more than just you being grateful? Ethan stared at me. What are you saying? I'm saying I'm developing feelings for you, I admitted. And it scares me. But it's true. I don't think of you as just some guy I'm helping. I think of you as someone I care about, someone I want in my life. I can't promise I'll always remember you, Ethan said. I can't promise this condition won't affect you eventually. I know, I said. But right now, in this moment, I remember you. And that's enough. We kissed that night. And it felt real and right, and like something I had been moving toward since the moment I woke up with his initials around my neck. Dating Ethan was unlike anything I had experienced. We couldn't go to restaurants where we were known because the staff would forget him. We couldn't double date with my friends because they wouldn't remember him the next day. We couldn't post photos together on social media because he didn't appear in digital images most of the time. But we found ways to make it work. We would go to new places where no one knew us. We would have private dates at my apartment or his. We would create our own world where his condition didn't matter as much. The necklace became my constant companion. I wore it every day, tucked under my shirt usually, but always there. And I noticed something. On days when I wore it, my memories of Ethan seemed sharper, more vivid. On the rare occasions when I took it off to shower or sleep, my memories felt slightly hazier, like trying to remember a dream. Ethan noticed it too. "When you're wearing the necklace, you seem more certain of me," he said one day. "Like my existence is more solid to you. Do you think it's connected to whatever makes me able to remember you?" I asked. "Maybe," Ethan said. The necklace was made specifically with this condition in mind. Maybe whoever made it understood something about how memory works that we don't.
But you made it, I pointed out. You commissioned it. I know, Ethan said. But I did it based on research. Research into historical cases of people like me. And in those cases, there were always objects, tokens that seemed to bridge the gap between the person and those who could perceive them. We started researching more seriously. Ethan had collected information over the 5 years of his condition, stories and accounts of similar cases throughout history. There was a woman in Victorian England who was described in multiple diaries and letters but never appeared in any photographs. There was a man in ancient Rome who was mentioned in several texts, but whose image was never captured in any artwork. There were patterns. These people always had someone, usually one person, who could remember them clearly. And there was always an object involved. A ring, a bracelet, a medallion. Something physical that connected the forgotten person to the one who could remember. That's what the 4 necklaces were for, I realized. You were trying to find your person, your anchor. Exactly, Ethan said. I didn't know it would be you, but I knew someone out there could remember me. I just had to find them. But there's still one thing we don't understand, I said. How did I end up with the necklace? You didn't give it to me. You said it was stolen. So who put it around my neck while I was sleeping? We kept coming back to that question. It was the central mystery that we couldn't solve. Ethan hadn't given me the necklace. He claimed the 4th necklace had been stolen from his apartment a month before I woke up wearing it. So who had taken it? And why had they given it to me? We decided to investigate. We went back to Ethan's apartment building and talked to the property manager. Do you have security footage from about 2 months ago? I asked. We were robbed, Ethan lied smoothly. We're trying to figure out when it happened. The manager, a bored-looking guy in his 40s, pulled up the footage. What date are you looking for? He asked. Ethan gave him the date when he discovered the necklace missing. We watched the footage together. It showed the hallway outside Ethan's apartment. For hours, nothing happened. Then around 3 a.m., a figure appeared. They were wearing a hoodie that obscured their face. They went to Ethan's door, and somehow, impossibly, they opened it without a key. The lock just clicked open as if they had the code. They went inside and emerged 5 minutes later, their hand closed around something small. A necklace, presumably. Then they left. Who the hell was that? The manager asked, staring at the screen. I don't know, Ethan said. Can you track where they went? The manager switched cameras, following the figure through the building. They never took off the hoodie. They never looked directly at a camera. And when they left the building, they disappeared into the street and we lost them. So someone broke into your apartment specifically to steal the necklace, I said after we left. But why? Why would anyone even know about it? And how did they know how to get past your locks? Unless... I stopped. Unless what? Ethan asked. Unless they're like you, I said. Unless they have some kind of ability.
Some way to move through the world that's different from normal people. Ethan looked troubled. I've never met anyone else with my condition, he said. In 5 years of living like this, I've never encountered another person who exists the way I do. Maybe they exist in a different way, I suggested. Maybe there are people with other impossible abilities. Maybe one of them stole your necklace and gave it to me for a reason. But what reason? Ethan asked. Why would some mysterious stranger want to connect us? That's what we need to figure out, I said. Over the next few weeks, we dug deeper. Ethan showed me all his research into similar historical cases. We looked for patterns, trying to understand if there were other people with different conditions. What we found was disturbing. Throughout history, there were accounts of people who seemed to have abilities that defied explanation. People who could be in 2 places at once. People who never aged. People who could move through locked doors.
People who, like Ethan, existed in the margins of reality. And in many of these cases, there were mentions of tokens, objects that either caused these conditions or helped manage them, objects that were passed down or stolen or given away. The necklace wasn't just a piece of jewelry. It was part of something bigger, something we didn't fully understand. One evening, about 4 months into our relationship, Maya came over for dinner. I had gotten into the habit of telling her about Ethan regularly, even though I knew she wouldn't remember him the next day. It felt important to keep trying, to keep introducing him into my life in any way I could. But that night, something different happened. We were all sitting at my dining table, eating the lasagna I had made. Maya was talking about her job when suddenly she stopped mid-sentence and looked at Ethan. "Wait," she said. "Have we met before?" Ethan and I exchanged glances. "Yes," I said carefully, "multiple times, but you usually don't remember." "I feel like I should remember you," Maya said, staring at Ethan. "Your face is familiar, like I've seen you before." "You have," Ethan said. "We've met at least a dozen times over the past few months." "That's impossible," Maya said. "I would remember that." She pulled out her phone and started scrolling through photos. "Wait," she said. "Here, you're in this photo. This photo I took at Claire's apartment 3 weeks ago. You're sitting right there on the couch, but I don't remember you being there when I took it." Ethan wasn't in photos, or at least he usually wasn't. But I looked at Maya's phone, and there he was, sitting on my couch, clearly visible. "This is new," I said to Ethan. "You're showing up in photos now." Ethan looked shaken. "I don't understand. I haven't changed." "So something else has changed," I said. "Maya, do you remember Ethan's name?" "His name is Ethan," Maya said slowly. "Ethan Morrison? Miller." "Morrison," Ethan confirmed. "She remembers me," he said, his voice filled with wonder. "She actually remembers me." "What's going on?" Maya asked, looking between us. "Why wouldn't I remember you?" Over the next hour, we explained everything to Maya. About Ethan's condition, about how people forgot him, about the necklace, and the impossible circumstances of our relationship. Maya listened with increasing disbelief. "This sounds insane," she said, "but I'm sitting here looking at photos of you that I took but don't remember taking. So either you're telling the truth or we're all crazy." "We're not crazy," I said. Then she looked at the necklace around my neck. "That's the necklace," she said. "The one with his initials." "Yes," I said. She reached out and touched it. "It felt warm," she said, "like it's generating heat. Is that normal?" "It's always a little warm," I admitted. "I thought it was just body heat, but maybe it's something else." Ethan looked thoughtful. "What if the necklace isn't just helping Claire remember me? What if it's actually changing my condition, making me more real? That would explain why Maya can suddenly see me in photos and remember me clearly." "So you're saying the necklace is fixing whatever is wrong with you?" I asked. "Maybe," Ethan said. "Or maybe being around you is fixing it. Maybe your ability to remember me is somehow making me more permanent in reality." Over the next few weeks, we tested this theory. More people started remembering Ethan. My coworker Jenny, who I had introduced him to before, suddenly recognized him when we ran into her at a coffee shop. My neighbor Tom stopped me in the hallway to ask about my boyfriend, naming Ethan specifically. Even Paul, the doorman, started greeting Ethan by name when he visited. It was as if Ethan was becoming real, not just to me, but to everyone. His photos started appearing consistently. Security cameras caught him. He left traces in the digital world. He was solidifying. The question was, why? And the answer seemed to be connected to me and the necklace. One day, Ethan received a letter. It was delivered to his apartment, addressed to him by name. No return address. Inside was a single sheet of paper with a handwritten note. "I know what you are. I know what she is. The necklace was meant for her.
Everything is going according to plan. Meet me at the place where this began. Friday at midnight. come alone. We both stared at the note. Who is this from? I asked. I don't know, Ethan said, but they know about the necklace. They know about my condition. They might know how you ended up wearing it. You can't go alone, I said. What if it's dangerous? I have to, Ethan said. This might be the only chance to get answers. Then I'm coming with you, I said. The note says come alone, Ethan pointed out, and it says it's the place where this began. Where what began? I asked. My condition, Ethan said. I think they mean the site of my accident. So on Friday night, we drove to the location where Ethan had his car accident 5 years earlier. It was a stretch of highway outside Seattle, a curve that was known for being dangerous. We arrived at 11:45 p.m. The area was dark and empty. We parked on the shoulder and waited. At exactly midnight, a figure emerged from the darkness. As they got closer, I could see it was a woman, probably in her 60s, with gray hair and sharp eyes. She walked up to Ethan's car and gestured for us to get out. Both of you, she said. I told him to come alone, but I'm not surprised you're here, Claire. How do you know my name? I asked. I know many things, the woman said. I'm the one who gave you the necklace. You broke into my apartment, Ethan said. Why? Because you two needed to meet, the woman said. Because Claire is the only person who can anchor you to reality. But you wouldn't have pursued her if she had been interested. So I made sure she would wake up with your initials around her neck. Made sure the mystery would draw you together. Who are you? I asked. My name is Margaret, the woman said. And I've been watching people like Ethan for 40 years. People who slip between the cracks of reality. People who need anchors to stay real. You're like him? I asked. I was, Margaret said. I had the same condition after my own accident. I existed for 20 years in the margins until I found my anchor, a man who could remember me. And once he could remember me, once we were connected, I started to become real again. Just like Ethan is becoming real now. So the necklace, I said. It's not magic, it's a tool. It helps with the anchoring process. It focuses the connection between the person who is slipping and the person who can hold them, Margaret said. I've been collecting these tokens for years. The 4 necklaces Ethan had made, I made 2 of them based on designs I found in historical records. The other 2 were already in existence. I arranged for Ethan to find them and commission copies. And you gave one to me, I said. Why? Because I knew you were his anchor, Margaret said. I've been watching you both. I knew when you met that you had the ability to remember him, but he was pursuing you wrong. Too eager, too intense. You were going to shut him down. So I intervened. By putting the necklace on me while I was sleeping? I asked. That's terrifying. I'm sorry for the fear I caused, Margaret said, but it was necessary. You needed a mystery to solve. You needed a reason to pursue Ethan instead of rejecting him. And it worked. You're together now. He's becoming real. The process is working. I felt anger rising. You manipulated us, I said. You played with our lives. I gave you a chance at happiness, Margaret corrected. Ethan has been alone for 5 years. You were lonely too, Claire, even if you didn't realize it. I brought you together. That's not for you to decide, I said. Maybe not, Margaret said, but I don't regret it, and I don't think you do either. She was right. I didn't regret meeting Ethan. I didn't regret falling for him, but I didn't like being manipulated. What happens now? Ethan asked. Now you continue living, Margaret said. You continue building your relationship. The more time you spend together, the more real Ethan will become. Eventually, his condition will be completely resolved. He'll be as permanent in reality as anyone else. And me? I asked. What happens to me? You'll be fine, Margaret said. Anchoring someone doesn't hurt the anchor. You just continue being who you are. The woman turned to leave, then stopped. One more thing, she said. The necklace is yours now. Keep it safe. It's part of your connection to Ethan. As long as you have it, the bond will remain strong." Then she walked back into the darkness and disappeared. We stood there in silence for a long time. "That was insane," I finally said. "Agreed," Ethan said, "but at least we have answers." "Do we?" I asked. "We know who gave me the necklace and why, but we still don't really understand what your condition is or why I can remember you when no one else can." "Maybe we don't need to understand everything," Ethan said. "Maybe it's enough to know that we're together. And it's working." I looked at him, this man who had existed in the margins of reality for 5 years, who was slowly becoming solid because of me. This man I had said wasn't my type. He was right. Maybe understanding everything wasn't important. Maybe what mattered was that we had found each other. 3 months after meeting Margaret, Ethan was fully real again.
He got a job working as a software engineer, using his skills from before the accident. His family suddenly remembered him and welcomed him back into their lives with confusion about where he had been. His friends reconnected with him. He existed in photos, in videos, in security footage, in every way that mattered. He was no longer forgotten. And we were happy, really, genuinely happy. We moved in together, we talked about the future, we built a life that had seemed impossible just months before. 1 year after I woke up with his initials around my neck, Ethan proposed. We were at the coffee shop on Post Alley, the place where he had first explained everything to me. He got down on one knee and pulled out a ring. It had both our initials engraved inside, EM and CR, intertwined forever. "Claire," he said, "a year ago you told me I wasn't your type. And you were right. I was someone who barely existed. But you made me real. You saw me when no one else could. You remembered me when the whole world forgot. You're my anchor to reality and to happiness. Will you marry me?" I said yes before he even finished asking. I called the number I had saved as Ethan Miller. It rang, and went to voicemail. "You've reached Ethan," the voicemail said. "Leave a message." "Ethan," I said, "I need you to call me back. Something weird is going on, and I need to understand what's happening. Please call me." He didn't call back. I tried again an hour later. Same result. By Sunday morning, I was convinced something was seriously wrong. I had spent all of Saturday researching, calling people, checking records, and I kept coming to the same impossible conclusion. Ethan Miller didn't exist. Or rather, the Ethan Miller I knew didn't exist. There was no online presence. No one else remembered him being at events I distinctly recalled him attending, and he wasn't in any photos, despite multiple people remembering me talking to someone. On Monday, I called in sick to work. I couldn't focus on anything except this mystery. I decided to go to the coffee shop where Ethan had supposedly shown up multiple times. I talked to the baristas, showed them a description of him. None of them remembered anyone matching that description being a regular. Then I went to my gym and asked the front desk staff. They checked their records. No one named Ethan Miller had a membership. They checked visitor logs. No Ethan Miller had ever signed in. But I had seen him there, multiple times. I had complained to Maya about it. I called Maya and asked her to describe Ethan to me. "Tell me what he looks like," I said. Maya said, "Tall, dark hair, green eyes, I think." "Claire, I'm not really sure. It's hard to remember." "You've seen him multiple times," I said. "You were at that party on Friday." Maya was quiet for a long time. Then she said something that made my blood run cold. "Claire, I don't actually remember seeing him at the party." "What?" I asked. "I remember you talking to someone in the corner." Maya said slowly, "I remember you telling me later that you had rejected him, but I don't remember actually seeing him." "You took photos at the party," I said. "Check them. Can you see him?" "I already checked," Maya admitted. "After you asked about the necklace, I looked through all my photos from Friday night. He's not in any of them." "So who was I talking to in the corner?" I asked. "I don't know," Maya said. "Claire, I think you need to see a doctor. This isn't normal."
I hung up and sat in my car in the gym parking lot, trying not to panic. There were only a few explanations left. One, I was having some kind of psychotic break and had imagined Ethan Miller entirely. Two, everyone around me was gaslighting me for some unknown reason. Three, something impossible was happening. I didn't want to believe option one. I felt completely sane. I had clear memories of meeting Ethan, talking to him, texting him. I had his number in my phone, texts we had exchanged. But the evidence suggested otherwise. That night, I was lying in bed trying to sleep when my phone buzzed. It was a text from Ethan's number. I know you're confused. I can explain everything. Meet me tomorrow at Pike Place Market, the coffee shop on Post Alley, at noon. Come alone. I stared at the text. Was I really going to meet up with someone who might not even exist? Someone who everyone else seemed unable to remember? But I had to know the truth. So I texted back, I'll be there. The next day, I arrived at Pike Place Market at 11:45 a.m. I found the coffee shop on Post Alley and ordered a coffee. Then I sat at a table near the window and waited. At exactly noon, Ethan Miller walked in. He looked the same as always. Dark hair, green eyes, dressed in jeans and a casual button-down shirt. He saw me and walked over. "Thank you for coming," he said. "Who are you?" I asked. "I'm Ethan Miller." "Then why can't anyone else see you?" I demanded. "They can see me," Ethan said. "They just don't remember me." "What does that mean?" I asked. "It means I exist in a space between memory and reality," Ethan said. "To most people, I'm forgettable. I'm someone they might notice in the moment but can't recall later."
I'm not in their photographs because cameras can't capture what the human mind won't remember. You're not making any sense, I said. I know, Ethan said. Let me try to explain better. Sit down. I sat. He sat across from me. 5 years ago, I was in an accident, Ethan began. A car crash. I died for 3 minutes before the paramedics brought me back. When I woke up, something had changed. I was different. People interacted with me normally in the moment, but later they couldn't remember me. I wasn't in photos. I left no trace. "What are you saying?" I asked. "You're a ghost?" "Not a ghost," Ethan said. "I'm alive, but I exist in a way that most human consciousness can't retain. I'm here, but I'm not permanent in other people's memories. Except for you," he added. "You remember me." "I don't understand," I said. "Neither do I," Ethan said. "You're the first person in 5 years who has retained clear memories of me, who remembers our conversations, who knows my name. That's why I've been trying to get close to you. You're the only person who sees me as real." "The necklace," I said, "the one with your initials." "I found 4 identical necklaces," Ethan said. "I had them made a year after my accident. I've been leaving them with people who I thought might be able to remember me, testing whether the connection would hold. You're the first person who kept it on, the first person whose memories of me persisted." "This is insane," I said. "I know how it sounds," Ethan said. "But Claire, you have to know by now that something impossible is happening. You've checked with your friends, you've looked at photos, you've realized that I exist in a way that defies explanation." I felt tears starting to build behind my eyes. "So I'm not crazy?" "You're not crazy," Ethan confirmed. "You're special. You're the only person who can really see me." "I don't want to be special," I said. "I want to understand what's happening." "So do I," Ethan said. "That's why I need your help." Over the next few hours, Ethan told me his story. Before the accident, he had been a normal person. Software engineer, lived in Seattle, had friends and family. Then the car crash changed everything. When he woke up in the hospital, his family was there. But within a day, they started acting strange. They would have conversations with him and then forget they had happened. His mother would come to visit and be surprised to see him every time, as if she had forgotten he was a patient.
His friends stopped calling, his job let him go because no one remembered him working there. He tried to maintain relationships, but it was impossible. People would interact with him normally in the moment, but hours later they would have no memory of the interaction. He wasn't in photos. Security cameras seemed to skip over him. He left no digital footprint. For 5 years, he had been living in this strange, in-between state. He had money from accounts he set up before the accident, but he couldn't work or maintain relationships. He was profoundly alone, until he met me. "You remembered me from the first moment," Ethan said. "After that dinner at Stephanie's, you texted me about something we had discussed. No one else ever remembers our conversations long enough to follow up. That's why I kept trying to see you. You're my only connection to reality." "So, the necklace," I said, "you put it on me while I was sleeping?" "No," Ethan said. "I wasn't in your apartment. I don't know how you got it. That's what I'm trying to figure out." "The jewelry company said there were 4 necklaces," I told him. "Where are the other 3? "I don't know," Ethan admitted. "I commissioned them and picked them up, but I've only given out 2. One to a woman I thought might be able to remember me. She didn't. One I kept. The 4th one disappeared. Someone stole it from my apartment about a month ago." "Someone stole it?" I repeated. "Who?" "I don't know," Ethan said. "I came home and it was gone. I thought maybe it was a random theft, but now I'm wondering if it's connected to you somehow." "The date on the back of the necklace," I said. "January 12, 2023. What happened that day?" "That was the day I commissioned them," Ethan said. "About 6 months after my accident. I was still trying to figure out what had happened to me. I thought maybe if I could find someone who remembered me consistently, I could understand this condition. But until you, no one did." We talked for hours. He told me about his life, about what it was like to exist in this liminal space. He told me about the loneliness, about screaming in public just to see if anyone would react, and then watching them forget it happened moments later. He told me about visiting his family and having his mother introduce herself to him over and over, never retaining the memory that he was her son. It was the saddest thing I had ever heard, and I didn't know if I believed it. Part of me thought this was an elaborate delusion, but another part of me knew I couldn't explain away all the evidence. Ethan existed to me, but not to anyone else. That was undeniable. Before we parted, I asked him one more question. "Why did you say at the party that we're more connected than I realize?"
"Because we are," Ethan said. "You're the only person in 5 years who can see me for what I am. That's not a small thing, Claire. That's everything." I went home that night with more questions than answers. Over the next few weeks, I spent a lot of time with Ethan. I wanted to understand his condition, to see if there was an explanation. We went to doctors, though convincing them to examine someone they couldn't remember was difficult. We researched neurological conditions, quantum physics, theories about consciousness and memory. Nothing explained what was happening. But I also got to know Ethan as a person, and despite everything, despite the impossible circumstances, I started to care about him. He was funny and kind and deeply lonely. He had spent 5 years unable to form real connections with anyone. I was his only anchor to the world, and he was becoming mine. The necklace remained a mystery. I wore it sometimes, this piece of jewelry that had appeared on me inexplicably. Ethan still didn't know how I had gotten it, but it became a symbol of our connection, his initials around my neck, a reminder that I could see him when no one else could. 3 months after that first meeting at Pike Place Market, something changed. I was at brunch with Maya when she said something that stopped me cold. "So how are things with Ethan?" she asked. I stared at her. "You remember him?" "Of course I remember him," Maya said. "You've been dating him for like 3 months. You talk about him all the time." "You remember his name?" I asked slowly. "Yes, Claire," Maya said. "Ethan Miller, your boyfriend. Why are you being weird?"
I excused myself and went to the bathroom. I called Ethan. "Maya remembers you," I said when he answered. "What?" "She just asked about you by name," I said. "She knows we're dating. She remembers you." "That's impossible," Ethan said. "No one has ever retained memories of me except you." "Well, Maya does now," I said. "Meet me at my apartment in an hour. We need to figure out what's happening." When Ethan arrived, I asked Maya to describe him. She did, accurately. I showed her photos I had taken of Ethan and me together over the past 3 months. She could see him in them. He was no longer invisible. Over the next few weeks, we tested it. More people started remembering Ethan. My parents, who I introduced him to, retained memories of meeting him. His photos started appearing when they should. Security cameras caught him. It was as if he was becoming real again. The only explanation we could come up with was me. Being around me, having someone who consistently remembered him, was somehow anchoring him back into reality. The necklace played a role too. When I wore it, the effect seemed stronger. More people could see Ethan, remember him, interact with him normally. We never did figure out how I got the necklace that night, but it didn't matter anymore. What mattered was that Ethan was coming back. He was becoming permanent again. And we were falling in love. I had told him he wasn't my type, but it turned out he was exactly what I needed. Someone who existed in the margins, who understood what it meant to be invisible, who needed someone to really see him. And I saw him. I saw him when no one else could, and that made all the difference. A year after I woke up with that necklace, Ethan proposed. He gave me a ring with both our initials engraved inside, EM and CR, intertwined forever. We're married now. Ethan is fully real again. He has a job, friends, a life. His family remembers him. He exists in photos and videos. Whatever strange condition affected him after his accident has faded. But we both know it was me who brought him back. My ability to see him, to remember him, to anchor him to reality. We still don't know why I could do that when no one else could. Maybe it was fate. Maybe it was something about my brain chemistry. Maybe it was the necklace, which I still wear every day. Or maybe, sometimes, love is enough to make the impossible real. I told him he wasn't my type. But it turned out he was exactly what I needed. Someone who existed in the margins, who understood what it meant to be invisible, who needed someone to really see him. And I saw him. I saw him when no one else could, and that made all the difference. A year after I woke up with that necklace, Ethan proposed. He gave me a ring with both our initials engraved inside, EM and CR, intertwined forever. We're married now. Ethan is fully real again. He has a job, friends, a life. His family remembers him. He exists in photos and videos. Whatever strange condition affected him after his accident has faded. But we both know it was me who brought him back. My ability to see him, to remember him, to anchor him to reality. We still don't know why I could do that when no one else could. Maybe it was fate. Maybe it was something about my brain chemistry. Maybe it was the necklace, which I still wear every day. Or maybe, sometimes, love is enough to make the impossible real. I told him he wasn't my type, but it turned out he was exactly what I needed. Someone who existed in the margins, who understood what it meant to be invisible, who needed someone to really see him. And I saw him. I saw him when no one else could. And that made all the difference. Did you like my story? Which city are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. If you liked the story, you can support me by sending a super thanks so I can keep bringing more stories like this. Thank you so much for your sweet support. I'm looking forward to your comments on the story. On the screen, you can see 2 new life stories that I highly recommend. There's so much more on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story.
with love and respect.